What's going on, guys? Aero here, and guys, with the recent Pokemon Direct that just aired a few days ago, we finally know about the next new mainline Pokemon games. And of course the games that I'm talking about are Pokemon UltraSun and Pokemon UltraMoon. Now, like I mentioned in my last video, these two games have definitely given some of the most mixed reactions in the Pokemon community that I've seen in a long time. On one end, we've got people that are really excited for these games and they can't wait to play them. And then on the other hand, we've got people that were disappointed by these games, it wasn't what they were expected, and they're not really looking forward to them. But no matter how you guys feel about these games, today I'm going to be talking to you guys about 20 reasons that I have as to why Pokemon UltraSun and Pokemon UltraMoon have the potential to be amazing games. Now before we get started, I do want to quickly mention that the stuff that I'm going to be talking to you guys about in this video is not stuff that I'm saying is going to be confirmed to be in Pokemon UltraSun and UltraMoon. That's obviously up to Game Freak to decide what to put into their game, but all the stuff that I am going to be talking to you guys about is stuff that I've come up with from what Game Freak has done in the past with third versions of their games, as well as sequels like Pokemon Black and White 2. So a lot of the stuff you're going to see in here, it does make sense, and it's not like anything here is something that I just completely came up with out of nowhere. So all of these do have a possible chance of happening. But anyways, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that we have right here is an alternate story. Pokemon UltraSun and Pokemon UltraMoon are going to have an alternate story to what happened in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. So that means it's going to be much different on how you're playing this game, and I think that that's going to be really interesting, because if you guys didn't like the story or the pace of how Pokemon Sun and Moon went, then there's definitely some potential that Pokemon UltraSun and UltraMoon could have a really cool new type of story, and I think it's definitely going to be one that's going to be more appealing and more memorable to a lot of people. Alright, the second thing that I have to talk to you guys about is the fact that this game is going to take place in a brand new Alola. Now sure, it's still going to be the same Alola region that you've played in the original Pokemon Sun and Moon, but most likely Pokemon UltraSun and UltraMoon are going to take place after the events that have happened in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So that means you're going to be playing through an Alola that's definitely been more developed as more time has gone by, and so it's probably going to be much bigger, there's going to be more places to go through and more stuff to do, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And also they could do something that I've never seen happen in a Pokemon game, but I think it'll be really cool, is if this game actually took place before the events that have happened in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Like, how cool would it be if like you're playing before your trainer in the original Sun and Moon moved to Alola from the Kanto region, like you're playing as a different person, and like let's say Kukui's not even there, like Kukui's still in the Kanto region like training. What if like Hao, your friend, isn't there either, and Hala's like a young person now? I think that would be so cool if like it took place in a different time period before the events in Pokemon Sun and Moon, but most likely it's going to just take place after the events in Pokemon Sun and Moon. But still, either way, it's going to be a brand new Lola region, and it's going to be a lot more stuff to do in it, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Alright, so coming in at number 3 is going to be character development. Now, like I mentioned in my last point, Pokemon UltraSun and UltraMoon are most likely going to take place after the events of Pokemon Sun and Moon. So that means that the characters that you met along the way in Pokemon Sun and Moon are probably going to be more developed, and they're going to have new roles, and I can't wait to see how certain characters that you've met along the way in Pokemon Sun and Moon have developed, how they're doing now, and like what they're going to do. It's going to be really cool, like how in Pokemon Black and White, your friends that you were with, like Bianca and Sharon, they were always sort of like your partners when you guys were adventuring through that game, but then in Black and White 2 you can see how they have changed, and like Bianca's like a professor now, and like, you know, working with the lab and stuff, and like working with Pokemon, so that's really cool. You can see how she's changed. And then Sharon, since he's always like been battling with you, and he was always like that one who wanted to become stronger, he's like a gym leader now, he's learning, and he's actually a person who gives out gym badges and stuff. You can definitely see how they've changed, and I can't wait to see how some of the characters in Pokemon Sun and Moon and Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon are going to be like, and how they've changed along the way. Alright, the next thing that I have is brand new Pokemon. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are about to say. Aero, this is still Generation 7. There's no way that they're going to add any more new Pokemon. But let me show you guys something that was said right there in that Pokemon Direct that just happened a few days ago.
These games offer an alternate story taking place in the world of Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, featuring Pokemon that didn't appear in the original versions.
Now, I don't know exactly what Mr. Masuda means when he says like you're gonna see Pokemon that you've never seen before, but to me that pretty much just sounds like he's confirming that brand new Pokemon are gonna be in Pokemon UltraSun and Pokemon UltraMoon. Now, I don't know exactly like to what extent he means by that. Like he could just be talking about like Solgaleo and Lunala, like how you can see that they're fused with Necrozma. I mean, that's technically considered like a brand new Pokemon. I mean, I'm sure even if that's what he considers new Pokemon, they're probably gonna have different stats and like different abilities and stuff. So that's pretty cool. I guess in a way that is saying that you're going to be seeing brand new Pokemon, or he could be actually talking about like a whole bunch of new Pokemon that weren't added in like the Alola decks from Pokemon Sun and Moon that they might have kept back for this game, and they're going to add maybe like 50 to 60 brand new Pokemon, which would be really cool as well. Alright, the next thing that I have is brand new Alola forms. Now, Pokemon Sun and Moon introduced to us Alola forms, which were brand new forms for Pokemon that we already knew about, such as Sandshrew and Diglett and a whole bunch of other cool Pokemon. And so this was really cool because these Pokemon were like adapted to the Alola region, and that involved them having new types, new abilities, and even brand new moves. So that was really cool, and I'm definitely thinking that since Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are still going to be taking place in the Alola region, there's definitely a chance that we could see brand new Alola forms, and there's definitely some cool ones that I would love to see. Alright, coming in at number 6 is going to be brand new Z moves. Now this is pretty much confirmed because of the fact that we see that in the new trailer that they showed for Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, we can see the Mimikyu doing something that we've never seen before possible in Pokemon Sun and Moon. We see a Lycanroc just jumping up into the air, so most likely these moves are going to be brand new Z moves, and I can't wait to see them. I mean, Z moves are definitely now something that's brand new in the competitive scene, and a lot of people are starting to use them, and they definitely have a lot of cool ways to use them, and the fact that any Pokemon can use them really offers like a lot of Pokemon to have potential. So it's going to be really cool to see the brand new Z moves that they've added, and since how like they focus pretty much a lot on the Z moves in like Pokemon Sun and Moon, with like the whole story revolving around you collecting the different types of crystals to be able to use them, I definitely think it's going to make sense to see brand new Z moves in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. Alright, the next thing that I have is something that I'm personally really excited for, and I really hope that this does happen: gym battles. Now, I know Pokemon Sun and Moon were definitely different because they didn't feature gym battles, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I was a little bit worried because of how like we've been used to the gym system for so long, and I was a little bit worried on how it's going to be like without having gyms, but I actually really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to play without gyms in Pokemon Sun and Moon. It really offered a brand new type of playstyle, but I think that this game might actually go back to the original Pokemon style of games of having the 8 gyms. And the reason that I'm saying that is because if you guys play through Pokemon Sun and Moon, then you're gonna notice, I'm gonna put up on screen for you guys as well, that there are 8 places in the entire Alola region that are just random blank spots, and they're talking about how there's gonna be some construction. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that there's 8 spots that are open and the fact that we have 8 gym battles. So I think it's gonna be really cool if they actually turn all of those 8 spots into a gym battle, and it's gonna be really cool. Maybe like I mentioned in that character development idea that I was talking about a few points ago, maybe it would be really cool if some of those characters that we've met in Pokemon Sun and Moon, like Mallow and some of the other people, like if they actually turn out to be gym leaders now and they have like a whole team that you can face off against in a gym battle, I think that that's going to be really cool. So we do have a chance of seeing gym battles in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. Alright, the next thing that I have is a better post game. Now, Pokemon Black and White was definitely a fun game, but there wasn't much to do in the post game. Now, sure, there was that extra part of the region that you got to discover after you've like taken down the Elite Four and stuff like that, but after that, there wasn't really much that you could do. But in Pokemon Black and White 2, they definitely fixed that because they introduced a lot of post game content. And of course, the one that I'm talking about that was really big was the Pokemon World Tournament. Now, if you guys forgot what that was basically like this awesome tournament that they had where you could face off against a whole bunch of gym leaders from a whole bunch of old past games. Like you could face off against Brock and Misty from Kanto and a whole bunch of other gym leaders from a whole bunch of other past games that we've had in Pokemon. So I think it would be really cool if they introduce something like that in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Maybe they'll have like a full-fledged battle frontier. Maybe they'll have just like a something like Pokemon World Tournament, like you can have just multiple gym battles with other gym leaders from like past games. But either way, I really think that Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are going to have a much better post game than in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Alright, so coming in at number 9 is going to be an increased challenge. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me, Pokemon Black and White 2 were definitely way harder than Pokemon Black and White. And the reason that I'm saying that is because in Pokemon Black and White 2, there were so many normal trainers and just NPCs that would even switch out their Pokemon for Pokemon that were more effective against the Pokemon that you currently had out, and even normal NPC trainers had held items on their Pokemon, and that game was definitely really challenging. In fact, on screen, I'll have two gym leader battles, one from Black and White and one from Black and White 2, and it's against the same gym leader, and you can definitely see right there that they have more Pokemon, their levels are higher, and it's definitely a harder game. So that makes me think that Pokemon UltraSun and UltraMoon could have a chance of being much harder than Black and White, or not Black and White, than Pokemon Sun and Moon. So that's pretty interesting. I hope that is the case. I definitely do want Pokemon games to be challenging, so hopefully that turns out to be the case. Alright, so the next thing that I have is more information on Necrozma. Now obviously Necrozma is the third legendary Pokemon in addition to Solgaleo and Lunala, but even in Pokemon Sun and Moon, we don't really learn that much information about Necrozma. I mean sure, Necrozma is just a cool Pokemon that we can catch after we caught all of the Ultra Beasts, but there's not really that much information. They just talk about how they see like this weird flying object in the sky, and then you go over and then you find Necrozma. They don't really talk about the history of this Pokemon or like where it came from, how it formed, and I think that because of the fact that we can see Necrozma is obviously fused with Solgaleo and Lunala in the cover of Pokemon UltraSun and UltraMoon, there's definitely going to be a lot more information about this Pokemon that we're going to learn, pretty similar to how we learned a lot about Kyurem and Reshiram and Zekrom in Black and White 2, so I think it's going to be a similar approach, and so yeah, I'm just interested to learn more about this Pokemon. Alright, so coming in at number 11 is going to be brand new moves. Now I'm not really sure if we're going to see a lot of brand new moves, but I definitely do think that we're going to see some type of new moves. And the reason that I'm saying that is because even in Pokemon Black and White 2, when you fused Kyurem and Zekrom and Reshiram together, there were new moves that were possible and they weren't in the original Black and White. And some examples of that are how when you fused Kyurem and Reshiram, you were able to learn the move Ice Burn. But then when you fused Zekrom and Kyurem together, you were able to learn the move Freeze Shock. And these moves, like I said, weren't possible in Black and White, so it's possible that now that Necrozma and Solgaleo and Lunala are fused together, there's probably going to be some new moves that are possible, and maybe they'll just add some extra new moves as well, just to make the game more interesting. Alright, the next thing that I have is a brand new adventure route. Now if you guys have played through Black and White and then played through Black and White 2, then you know that in Pokemon Black and White 2, the type of adventure route that you take was much different than the one that you took in Black and White. And that's because you started out in a brand new city called Esperidia City in Pokemon Black and White 2, and that was interesting because it was like a whole new side of this region that you've already played in Pokemon Black and White. And so that was interesting because you had to go through the entire region in a different path and then end up in the last town, which was the first town that you started in Pokemon Black and White. So that was pretty interesting. I really liked taking a brand new route throughout the whole region, and it was really interesting. Maybe they'll do something like that in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. Maybe it'll be really cool. Like let's say you start off in Pony Island this time, and like Pony Island's a much more developed island because like obviously you know in Pokemon Sun and Moon, like Gladion talks about how no one lives on Pony Island, and Pony Island's always been this place of just like nature. Maybe Pony Island's always been like developed now because more time has gone by, and let's say you start off in Pony Island and you have to move your way all the way back down to Melee Island. I think something like that would be really cool, so I would really love to see a brand new adventure route in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Alright, the next thing that I have is brand new characters. Now without a doubt, there's definitely going to be some new characters that we're going to meet in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and who knows, maybe some of these characters are definitely going to have some unique personalities, and I think it's going to be really cool to see how these new characters are going to play, and how these characters are going to have a cool part in the story. So I can't wait to learn more about these characters when we get more information on them, but I definitely do think that more characters are coming, so that's definitely going to be pretty interesting. Alright, the next thing that I have is brand new Mega Evolutions. Now out of this entire list, the thing that I think has the least chance of happening is probably this one, and the fact that we could get brand new Mega Evolutions, but it's still a possibility. I mean, Mega Evolutions are still a relatively new thing in Pokemon. I mean, sure, we've gotten a good amount of Mega Evolutions, but Game Freak could always add more, and I don't think it makes sense, but maybe in this like version of Pokemon Sun and Moon, or like this new developed Pokemon region in Alola, maybe now they're like really focused on Mega Evolutions now, and maybe new Mega Evolutions are discovered. Who knows what could happen, but I do think that there could be a chance that we could see some brand new Mega Evolutions. Alright, so coming in at number 15 is going to be brand new items. Now in Pokemon Black and White 2, there were definitely some new items which were introduced which weren't originally in Pokemon Black and White, and I think that in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, we're definitely going to see some new items that we haven't seen before in Pokemon Sun and Moon, so that's going to be cool. Maybe we'll have something like the DNA splicers, which will enable you to be able to like fuse together Necrozma and Solgaleo and Lunala. In fact, we can basically see a brand new item from that trailer. You can see like that the person has a black Z ring on here and they're like twisting a dial or something like that when they're like in the battle and like in this animation, so maybe that could be like a new way of fusing together Necrozma with these legendaries. But either way, I think it would be really cool to see some new items. Maybe we'll see some brand new competitive items as well, and that could be really cool in the competitive scene, so there's definitely the potential to see some brand new items. Alright, the next thing that I have is brand new music. Now, I don't know if you guys care about music when you guys play through a Pokemon game. Music is definitely an important part for me. I always like listening through all of the cool battle sounds that they have, all of the cool battle music they have for a whole bunch of different trainers that you verse throughout the game, and I think it's a lot of fun to listen through all of the cool music, and Generation 7 definitely has some of the best music that I've seen in a Pokemon game in a really long time, especially like that Solgaleo and Lunala battle theme music. Like when you guys catch Solgaleo and Lunala, that theme that plays, it's a really cool music and I really like listening to that. So there's definitely going to be some new music that's in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and if not, they're definitely going to remix some of the old music that's already in Sun and Moon, so I can't wait to see some of that new music, or I guess I should say I can't wait to hear some of it. Alright, the next thing that I have is methods of being able to get certain Pokemon. Now, there's definitely a few Pokemon that are in Pokemon Sun and Moon that we already know about from the data mine leaks that have happened, but there's no way of actually officially acquiring them. And I'm talking about like the Hat Pikachus and Marshadow, and I think that there's definitely going to be some way that you're going to be able to get these Pokemon in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Like, I'm sure they've got some sort of event planned out, maybe they're going to connect in some way. I definitely do think though that Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are going to enable us to be able to catch Marshadow and stuff like that, and they're probably going to relate to each other, so that's definitely something that could happen as well. Alright, so coming in at number 18 is definitely going to be something that I'm personally really looking forward to. Brand new areas. Now, like I mentioned before in one of my previous points, Pokemon Black and White 2 definitely introduced to us brand new areas that weren't possible to go to in Pokemon Black and White. We started out in a brand new city called Asperdia City, there was also Burbank City, which was a brand new place, and a whole bunch of other new places that were in Pokemon Black and White 2 as well. And so I'm definitely certain that in Alola there's going to be some development that's occurred, there's going to be way more new cities to get to, there's going to be some new areas to go to. In fact, the original poster that they had of the Alola region back when Pokemon Sun and Moon were still set to come out, the original poster, a lot of people were able to catch that in the way back distance there was like a faint island that was covered up by some clouds, and not many people knew about it. I think it would be really cool if in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon these islands have like been discovered, they've built cities on them, there's people living now. I think it would be so cool if now there's more islands to go to and there's different places to get to. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun to see all of the new areas that we can get to in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Alright, coming up next at number 19 is going to be better gameplay. Now, Pokemon Sun and Moon already had way better gameplay than Generation 6 because they made many cool changes that helped Pokemon out a lot. I mean, first of all, they got rid of those battle circles which were underneath the Pokemon when you were battling. They also made the running and moving much more better. It was not like the grid-like fashion that they had in Generation 6, so there was definitely a lot of cool improvements. And I think that in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, there's going to be even more improvements to the gameplay and it's going to look much better. I mean, you guys can see right there from that small snippet that we saw in the original direct that just happened a few days ago, the colors look much more vibrant, they're popping out a little bit, and I think it looks really cool. So I think we're definitely going to see much better gameplay in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And finally, the last thing that I want to share with you guys on why Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon have the potential to be amazing games is better customization. Now, Pokemon Sun and Moon already had a lot of customization options that you had with the clothing and your hairstyle and a whole bunch of other cool things, but you guys can see right there from that short snippet that they showed off in the direct, there's definitely some new customization that's going to be available, so I can't wait to see all of that. I can't wait to make my trainer look even more cool, so that's going to be something new in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon as well. And so yeah, that's basically all the cool stuff that I was able to think of for why Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon could turn out to be amazing games. Definitely leave a like if you guys enjoyed this video, and comment down below on other reasons that you have as to why Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon could turn out to be amazing games. I'm always curious to see what you guys have to say. Subscribe to this channel if you're new here. I've got a lot of content coming up about Nintendo, and there's definitely going to be some Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon content when it comes out. I'm definitely going to be covering that, so definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go follow me on Twitter at actual Aero if you ever want to tweet me something or ask me something. I'm always able to reply to everyone who tweets me on Twitter, so definitely go and follow me there. And yeah guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.